A small private school that parents often say, "This place makes good people." But in one corner of the classroom, words are creating something that no one wants to take responsibility for. In a seemingly ordinary classroom, everything is filled with color, laughter, and warm sunlight. Taidy, an 8-year-old girl, is drawing her favorite thing, a family, holding hands tightly. In her world, warmth is captured with crayons. Taidy murmuring softly, "Holding hands like this, it must be warm." Ping stops to watch. Their hands are too big, like a construction worker's. Mina laughing softly, "Yeah, but it's warm, a little too warm." The words aren't loud. No one is shouting, but something in the air has changed. It's not a sound that hurts, but it's the weight of the words that falls gently on someone's heart. Taidy smiling faintly. Then I'll fix it." She deletes the picture, slowly, even though she really likes it. No one notices. No one stops her, because it seems like a small thing. But sometimes what was erased wasn't just the painting. It was the confidence that used to be there. And some words don't need to be harsh. Just the right amount is enough to make someone start to stop being themselves. The teacher wrote the word words in large letters on the board. Teacher: "This homework isn't really for the children." The whole class fell silent. Students whispering, "Then whose is it?" Teacher: "For the adults who have forgotten to do it their entire lives." The word words was bigger than a child could see as just letters. The classroom was still brightly lit, but the atmosphere was starting to feel a little heavy, as if certain words weren't just on the board, but in everyone's hearts. Ping smirked. "Adults always say the same thing, don't they?" The teacher turned to look at him. Teacher: "And do you think straightforward and correct are the same thing?" Ping didn't answer immediately, but he didn't give up either. Ping: "At least it doesn't lie." The teacher nodded slightly. "Yes, or maybe it just doesn't want to take responsibility." Mina frowned. "Take responsibility for your own words." The word straightforward sounds simple, like a line drawn from one point to another, but no one told him that along the way, what will it overlap with? Some people speak directly to end it, but sometimes what ends is not just the conversation, it's someone's feelings. Teacher: "Every word has a destination." Teacher continued, "The question is, have you ever cared where it leads?" Taidy looks down at her notebook. Taidy murmurs softly, "The heart of another person." Taidy bends down to write, slowly, as if afraid of making a mistake. The destination of words equals the heart of another person. She's not sure if it's right, but she feels it's true. In a world where everyone can speak instantly, perhaps few stop to think what their words are doing to someone else. The filming begins. Everything was supposed to be just acting, but some words didn't need acting. It sounded too real. And when the truth was spoken, no one knows for sure whether it stopped at the script or went on to touch the hearts of the listeners. Director, friend, says start filming. Simulated scene. A boy stands holding a competition application form. Ping immediately says, "He won't choose you, save your energy." The boy laughs. "Yeah, that's true." Mina adds, "Don't think too much about it. He was being blunt." Taidy interjects softly, "What if he wants to try?" Ping turns around. "Let him try, but he has to know the truth." Taidy looks straight ahead. "Or maybe you just don't want him to try." Silence. The phrase being blunt sounds like courage, but sometimes it's just a shortcut to avoid responsibility for someone's feelings. The thin line between sincerity and hurting isn't in the words, but in the reason we choose to say it. The atmosphere becomes tense. Ping, in a firm voice, says, "We're speaking the truth. It doesn't hurt." Taidy, the truth that doesn't need to be spoken, pauses briefly. Maybe it's like a knife nobody asked for. Mina laughs to cover it up, but this time her voice isn't the same. Come on, don't think too much about it. The room falls silent, though laughter still lingers, but the feeling isn't the same. Some words don't need to be spoken loudly. Just the right moment is enough to resonate deeply in someone's heart. And some words, even if called the truth, don't necessarily mean everyone wants to hear them. Filming the Think Before You Speak scene. Mina plays the role. I think you should give it a try. If you want, we can practice together. The child looks up, his eyes filled with hope. Really? Mina, you can try it first. Some words don't instantly change the world, but they can change someone's gaze. From looking down, they start looking up again. And sometimes, hope begins with just a simple word. Ping whispered, "That's it, super fake." Taidy turns around. Why do you think it's fake? Ping, because the world isn't that kind. Taidy, or you've just never encountered words that don't hurt. Ping is silent for a moment, before answering softly, nice words don't help you win. In a world where many have been hurt, kindness is often seen as untrue because it's unfamiliar, and sometimes it's never received. The question isn't whether the words are real or fake, but what kind of world we choose to believe. Taidy speaks slowly. But bad words, it might make people afraid to even enter the field in the first place. Mina added softly, and those who have never entered the field, pauses briefly, will never know whether they win or lose. Winning doesn't start with being better than anyone else, but it starts with daring to enter the field, and words are what push people to step in or to quietly retreat without anyone noticing. Some words don't make us lose, but they make us afraid to start. That night, Taidy overheard her parents arguing. Father, your child isn't as talented as him. Learn to accept that. Mother, do you have to speak so harshly? Silence followed for a moment. Then soft words were spoken that were more hurtful than the shouting. Father, I'm just speaking the truth. That night, no one shouted again, but the words, once softer, became clearer than before. Taidy didn't just hear the argument, she heard the adult's way of thinking. The word truth wasn't used for understanding, but it was used to judge. Taidy sat hugging her knees. Words, are they like air? Taidy spoke softly. Sometimes it's easy to breathe. Sometimes I can't breathe at all. In her mind, words were no longer just sounds. They had become air. In some homes, the air was light, so refreshing for the heart. But in some homes, it was heavy, so heavy that even a child felt unable to breathe fully. And no one in that room accepted that the air they created was hurting someone. In the classroom, Mina presented a clip. Her voice trembled slightly, but she still smiled. Mina, we thought that if we chose our words carefully— Ping interrupted. It looks fake. Real people don't talk like that. Laughter erupted. Mina stopped speaking. This laughter was different from before. It wasn't soft, it didn't pass quickly, but it left a weight in the room. And for the first time, words weren't just opinions, but they began to function like weapons. Before the teacher could interrupt, Mina asked back, So what kind of real would you say? Ping, the kind that doesn't require pretending to be nice. Mina, and what if your words made people afraid to speak again? Silence. No one laughed anymore. The teacher spoke slowly. Some words don't make people lose the game. The teacher paused briefly. But they make them quit playing altogether. No one laughed anymore.
Not because it wasn't funny, but because everyone was beginning to understand. Some words don't kill ability, but they kill courage. And when someone stops talking, stops trying, stops believing in themselves, the game is over before it even begins. After school, Mina sat alone. There was no laughter, no arguments, just silence. But this silence wasn't empty. It was filled with words still lingering in someone's heart. Taidy sat down beside her. Mina spoke without looking at her. "Do you know what we're afraid of?" "What?" "Afraid that one day we'll start believing those words."
Taidy was silent. Mina continued. At first, it's just other people's words, but if you hear it often, it will become the voice in your own head. She clenched her fist. And then, we won't be able to escape it anymore. Some words don't stay outside forever. They slowly seep in, little by little. From the voices of others, they become our own. And the day we start believing them, we won't even know that that voice was never ours in the first place. Taidy said softly, "Then we have to stop it." She paused briefly. "Before it gets inside." Mina nodded slightly. Some battles don't happen outside, but they happen inside. And the most dangerous enemy isn't the words of others, but that was the day we started talking to ourselves. The silence that day didn't end anything, but it was the beginning of choosing what to believe. Presentation day. The clip was played, the image projected. Not pretty, not neat, and there was no music to drown out the negativity, just the absolute truth. The laughter that once seemed soft now was shrill. The silences that were usually overlooked now were unbearably long. This wasn't a clip, it was a mirror. Teacher said, "This is the version we never posted." Teacher paused briefly. "But this is what actually happened." Ping murmuring softly, "Did I really say that?" Ping started breathing heavily. The image of herself was replayed. Ping, "Did it sound that harsh?" Sometimes we don't realize how heavy our words are until we hear them from the outside. What once felt normal when replayed was no longer the same. And for the first time, Ping wasn't defending herself, but beginning to truly listen to herself. Teacher said, "No one intends to be a bad person." Teacher continued, "But many bad people just never stop to think before they speak." The room fell silent. It's not because there was nothing to say, but because everyone had something to think about. The truth isn't scary because it's cruel, but because it's too close. And on that day, no one in the room dared to say, "We're not involved," because deep down, everyone knew that they too had been the voice in that clip. After school, Ping approached Taidy. "Ping, we just don't want to lie." Taidy looked at him. "Then have you ever lied to yourself?" Ping paused. "Lie about what?" Taidy, "Lying that we didn't hurt anyone." Some questions don't need immediate answers, but they act like a mirror that you can't avoid looking at. And for the first time, Ping didn't argue back, because deep down she was beginning to see something that she had been trying to not see all along. Taidy continued, "Words are like breath. They leave us and enter other people. If they make them uncomfortable, even if they're true, they're still toxic." Ping's eyes welled up with tears. "Then how should we speak?" "The truth doesn't have to disappear, but the way you speak can change it. From something that hurts, it can become something that helps people grow." On that day, Ping hadn't lost to anyone. She was winning something within herself. And perhaps that might be the hardest victory of all.
The next day, Ping tried speaking again. Ping hesitated slightly. "We think it's still not good enough. But if you want, we can take a look." It wasn't a beautiful sentence. It was still stiff, still straightforward. Mina, smiling faintly, "Okay, then help us." Something had changed. No one flinched. No one was silent because of the pain. Because this time, the words didn't push them away, but they reached out. Taidy looked at the two of them. Taidy murmured softly, "It's still not perfect, but it's better now." There was no applause. There was no immediate change. There was only one person who began to realize and chose to try again. Sometimes change doesn't start with better words, but it starts with stopping the hurt. And in a world full of words, just a breath that doesn't make anyone uncomfortable might be enough to start anew. Taidy looked straight ahead. It was as if she wasn't speaking to one person, but to everyone. Adults teach us to speak the truth, but rarely do they teach us how the truth should be sent out. She paused for a moment. Thoughtless words are like poisonous breath. They don't kill immediately, but they slowly make someone begin to fear being themselves. And sometimes the person who speaks never even realizes what they've done. The room fell silent. No music, no further explanation, just one question lingering. Before speaking again, ask yourself, will this help them breathe better, or will it force them to hold their breath?